Okay, this is yet another logic puzzle. I'm enjoying doing these logic puzzles, and I wanted to share this with anyone who is interested in working on something like this. This is a rugged auction. This is from Games Magazine, and Games Magazine has a section called Logic, which has three logic puzzles: one simple, one moderate, and one complex. And the most complex one in this one is called Collectibles. And basically, to make a long story short, I'm not going to go through this entire story, but you are helping out an auctioneer sell Oriental rugs, but you've arrived late, and you don't know, you don't have a copy of of what do they call it, the catalog. So you have to figure out, without having a catalog, the order of the rugs that are being introduced, the size, the color, the pattern, and the origin. And they come from Argus. Shucks, what is the starts with the B. Bordish, yeah. The Argus, the Bordish, the Qing, the Drubian, the Incal, the Ferlingian, and the Genka. So those are the seven. Those are the origins of the seven rugs. And then there are seven colors. I think that's brown, green, rose, red, blue, salmon, and there's another color I can't figure. I think it's gray. But in any case, it's all in the clues, and there are seven sizes, and there are seven patterns which are on the rugs. And so, I would suggest if you are skilled in an Excel spreadsheet to use that. But within a few minutes of this video, I will show you the answer, and I'll walk you through it one by one, how I figured it out, and basically how to solve these logic puzzles. So hit pause in the video if you're interested in solving this. Try to figure it out. You're definitely going to need some sort of paper or pencil or some sort of a Word or an Excel document. Try to figure it out, and in a few seconds I will come back with the solution. Okay, I'm going to go through the solution to this logic puzzle, in which we have to guess the order of the rugs, the size, the color, the place, and the pattern. And I've written down the rules here, the clues, in shorthand form to help us out. So, we know from clue number one that rug number one is smaller than at least 10 by 15. It is not 10 by 15, so I'm going to knock that out. Rug number two is smaller than 5 by 7, and it is not 5 by 7, so I'm going to knock that out. Rug number three is smaller than 6 by 8, and it is not 6 by 8, so I'm going to knock that out. Rug number four is larger than 9 by 12, and it is not 9 by 12, so I'm going to knock these out, these smaller ones out, because it's bigger than 9 by 12. Number 5 is bigger than at least two rugs. I'm sorry, smaller than at least two rugs. It cannot be these because there needs to be two rugs bigger than it. Hopefully that makes sense. Same thing with rug number 6. There need to be two rugs bigger than rug number 6, so these two are out. Also, we know that rug number 6 is not the smallest, so this is out. We also know that rug number 7, we only know that rug number 7 is bigger than the medallion, so we know that rug number 6 can, I'm sorry, number 7 cannot be the smallest. So that's that. So that tells us a lot. There are only two slots available for the 10 by 15 and the 11 by 18, and we know something about the 10 by 15. Clue number 1 says that the Qing has to follow 10 by 15, 10 by 15, and then the Qing follows. So this is out. The Qing has to follow it. So this is the 10 by 15. Let's type that in. Which means this has to be 11 by 18. Those are the only places that it will fit. So excellent. So that tells us an awful lot. And also, let's talk about patterns for a little bit. Actually, let's talk about something else here. The same way that this cannot be 10 by 15 because the Qing has to precede it. This cannot be first because Qi has to precede it. Qi and then 6 by 8. So this is out. Now, let's talk about patterns. There's 4 by 6 and then 2 by 3. So we know this is not 4 by 6 because number 6 has to be 2 by 3. We know it is not because rug 6 is not the smallest. We know that this 4x6 is not rug number 6 because rug number 7 we've already established is 11 by 8, 18. We know that this cannot be 2 by 3 rug number 5 because 4 by 6 is not number 4, 10 by 15 is. And we also know that 2 by 3 cannot be number 1 because the 4 by 6 has to precede it. We know that 4 by 6 cannot be rug number 3 because number 4 is 10 by 15. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's jump to clue number 5. Clue number 5 says there are 2 rugs that are bigger than it. Rug number 5 is smaller than the red or the leaf. We don't know what the red or the leaf are, but there are at least 2 rugs that came earlier that are bigger than it. The smallest rug number 5 could be is 5 by 7. So that leaves these only 2 rugs. This has to be 9 by 12 because rug number 5 has to be smaller than it. So I hope that makes sense. This is 9 by 12. By 12. Cool. And we know the 9 by 12 is Drubian because clue number 4 tells us that. So let's plug that in. And let's get rid of these. And also it tells us, since this is out, there is only one room for the 4 by 6, and that is here, which means the 2 by 3 has to be here. Cool. And let's get rid of that. Okay. And we know, well, let's plug these sizes in. 4 by 6 and then the 2 by 3. And we know from this clue that the 2 by 3 is floral. So I'm going to plug that in already. Just going to knock that out. And we also know that this is the ching because 10 by 15 and then the ching, that's clue number 1. And what else do we know? Let's talk about colors for a bit. So, can the 10 by 18 be green? 11 by 18, I'm sorry. No, because the green, we know from clue number 2, is 5 by 7. So, we're going to get that out of here. And we know that rug number 7 is not 5 by 7, so the green cannot be rug number 7. How about gray? Can gray be 11 by 18? No, because rug number 4 says it is larger than the gray. Well, 11 by 18 is larger than rug number 4, so gray cannot be it. So hopefully that makes sense. Boom, we'll knock that out. How about the salmon? The salmon had to have come earlier than rug number 5, so it is not 6 or 7, and it is not 5. So salmon is out. We don't know too much about the blue. What about the rose? Rose cannot be last because medallion has to supersede it. Rose and then the medallion. So there's no room for the medallion if the rose is in the last place, so that's out. Same thing for brown. Furlingian has to follow brown, and there's no room for Furlingian if brown is the last spot. And we know that red from clue number 5 is either 1, 2, 3, or 4. It came earlier than 5. So that means blue is the color of the largest rug. Hopefully that makes sense. And let's plug blue in here. So what does that tell us about the ankle? Rug number 6 says it is smaller than the blue, which is here, or the ankle. We know that Drubian is rug number 1, so ankle has to be 10 by 15. So let's plug ankle in here. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's talk about colors once again. So we know that gray comes later than 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is out for gray. We know that green, it has to be either 5 or 6. Why is that? Because green is 5 by 7, and those are the only 2 spots that 5 by 7 could be, either rug number 5 or 6. What about salmon? Salmon can either be, salmon is earlier than 5. So when we talk about rug number 5, salmon came early, so it's either 1 or 4. But we know something about salmon. Salmon and then Argus, that's a pattern. So can salmon be 3? No, because inkle is 4. Can salmon be 4? No, because ching is 5. So salmon can only be either 1 or 2. We'll forget about rose for just a second. Well, hold on for a second. Rose and then medallion. So rose cannot be 3 or 4. Oops, I'm sorry about that. I keep on thinking medallion fits here. So since floral is here, rose cannot be 2. There we go. I get the place and the pattern mixed up sometimes. Now, what about brown? Same thing. Brown and then Ferlingian. So brown cannot be 3 or 4 because Inkle and Ching have taken the place that Ferlingian would have been if brown were either 3 or 4. So brown is not 3 or 4. What about red? Red can be either 1, 2, 3, or 4, but we know that red has to be bigger than rug number 5. And the only rugs that can fit that is 1 and 4. So 1 and 4 are out. I'm sorry, 2 and 3 are out for red because these are the only 2 bigger rugs. So that means rose has to be 3 because that is the only rug, that is the only color that will fit pattern number 3. So rose is 3. And if rose is 3, we know, where are you? Medallion has to be 4. Right? Let's highlight rose for a second and knock out everything else. And when we knock out everything else, it tells us that red has to be number 4 because it's the only place that'll fit. So we know the color of the 10 by 15 rug, red. Perfect. And let's highlight that. All right. What else? Well, since red is 1, and we talked about red and leaf being bigger than 5, since red is 4 and leaf, the number 1 rug is bigger than 5. So leaf has to be number 1. That is the pattern for leaf. And that tells us something about diamond, because we know that diamond came earlier than 4, and this is the only place that it will fit for diamond. So there we are. Now let's go back to the patterns. Excuse me. So we've got rose, so we don't have to worry about that. Salmon, then Argus. Okay, that doesn't tell us too much, so we'll forget about salmon. But we do know something about salmon. So clue number 5 tells us that the auctioneer is talking about rug number 5. It is not red, it is not leaf, it is not salmon. But also, red and leaf are not salmon. So, leaf is here, red is here. We know that salmon is either 1 or 4 because it came after 5. We know salmon's not 1 because salmon and leaf are not the same. Salmon is here. Because when the auctioneer talks about particular rugs, he's not saying that salmon is red or leaf. So I hope we understand that logic. And that means that, let's see, so salmon and then Argus. So let's plug Argus in right here. Okay, so salmon has to be number 2, right? Which means brown, the only place that brown will fit is number 1. Because green can't be there because green is 5 by 7. Gray came later. We thought it was salmon, but we put salmon here. We know where blue is. We know where rose is. And we know where red is. So brown has to be number 1. Cool. Plug that in and highlight that and eliminate everything else. So now these are the only ones that we have to figure out. So I think we can figure it out because clue number 3 tells us that key and then 6 by 8. Could this be 6 by 8? No, because medallion is at the 4 position. So 6 by 8 cannot be in the 5th position. So key has to be 5. And then 6 by 8. My 6 is stuck. There we go. 8 has to be here, which means 5 by 7 has to be here. And 5 by 7 is green. And we know that from clue number 2, which means this is gray. There we go. Now, brown and then Ferlingian. So what about the other patterns? Well, let's talk about these patterns here. We know that 6 by 8 is geometric. We don't have to talk about anything at all, because clue number 3 tells us that. So that leaves center. So the only thing to figure out is Argus and Bordish. I'm sorry, not Argus, but Jinka and Bordish. Can Jinka be here? Absolutely not, because we know from clue number 3, it's either clue rug number 3 is smaller than the Jinka or the 6x8. So Jinka and 6x8 are not the same. And that leaves Bordish here. I hope that was fun and interesting, and I hope that this sort of stirred your interest in logic puzzles. I've always loved these logic puzzles when I was a kid. And now that I have Excel spreadsheets, which is something I did not have when I was a kid, it makes it all the more fun. Let's see, where do we have green? Green was number 5, and gray was number 6. Hopefully this was fun. I'm not going to mess with these stuff at the top. Oh, I screwed up, didn't I? Gray is here. Yeah, there we go. But in any case, thank you so much for watching, and on to the next logic puzzle. Thank you so much, and that's it.